SailPoint Identity Security Cloud provides a unified, autonomous, and a scalable solution enabling organizations to establish a robust identity security foundation. There is no other choice today. Grady, please can you share more about our product vision? Why is it a key focus on how we build our platform and solutions today?
Sure. So look, our vision is obviously is a focal point because it's our North Star. You know, we spend so much time talking to customers, understanding the industry, and we want to build with that North Star in mind so that we're delivering value in everything that we do. Our vision is really about providing real-time, secure access to data wherever it sits, whether it's in applications or unstructured data, and doing it in a way that's very unified, as you touched on with the platform. And what we mean by that is every part of our portfolio kind of makes the others stronger. And the real focus on kind of this risk-based, policy-based way of doing things. I think this is an important distinction because for so long in our industry, access has been granted kind of in admin time. Somebody joins a company, somebody moves to a new job several years later, and it's been relatively static. It's not responsive to the very dynamic needs of businesses today. And the funny thing is, it's largely about applications. Everybody knows what you want to protect is data, but yet, as our industry started, a lot of that data was locked away in an Oracle or an SAP system. So the inertia of the industry sort of took it to be very application focused. And I'll talk about that some more, but we're trying to change that. We're trying to think about data wherever it sits and how can we protect that in real time.
Perfect. And so let's look at something that we released the past 1 year. There's a lot of good, exciting product announcements we spoke about.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that piece of it. What are you excited about?
Yeah, it's hard to pick just one thing, but because I was just talking about data wherever it sits, I would touch on our ability to look at unstructured data and bring SailPoint's lens of identity and access governance to unstructured data. We call it data access security. The idea is, you can point it at any document store. We'll go through and catalog everything, we'll classify the data, but most importantly, we'll look at who has access to that data. And then we correlate that back to the SailPoint Identity Cube. And so that lets us do some interesting things. The things you would expect, like be able to certify that access, to be able to have somebody request access to that data. These are all things that SailPoint's been known for more than a decade and a half. But we can also start to apply AI to it. We can look at outliers, Maybe Grady has access to very limited access to applications and maybe only financial data, but this module will discover that we actually have access to some healthcare data, right? So we can automatically remediate that and take action. So again, very policy-centric, and again, very focused on the underlying data, what's in that, not just do I have access to a OneDrive share or not.
Perfect. And so you talk to a lot of customers, partners, and influencers. What are they talking about when it comes to identity security?
Yeah, so, it's some of the themes we just picked up on, but more desire for real time. We hear risk coming into the conversation a lot. We're real excited with some of the announcements we have coming up at RSA and beyond that talk about SailPoint's ability to adapt to risk in the environment. But this is important. No identity is static for days, months, years at a time. We want to be able to look in the environment. What is that identity doing? So we just launched activity data at our last Navigate. The ability to look in real time is how are entitlements being used? What's an identity doing? Some of our upcoming announcements will be really looking at identity level risk. And then, of course, with our powerful Atlas platform, you can do anything with that. You could say, hey, if Jaishree's identity becomes risky, let's reevaluate her access to sensitive apps. Let's ask for a recertification. Let's send a Slack message to make her aware that her identity risk posture has changed. And so this is one thing we're hearing from customers is a desire to be more real time, to be more real, to risk-based in the enterprise. I also touched on sort of that ability of going beyond just application access. This is why, in addition to the unstructured piece I talked about, we're looking later this year. We'll be releasing governance for semi-structured or unstructured data. So think a Redshift or a BigQuery or Snowflake governing that data more holistically, very much in concert with the governance controls those platforms already have. And so that's a really big piece of it as well. And I'd say too, customers are looking to get more out of their investments quicker. And this is an area we've invested a lot in at SailPoint. We're very excited with an upcoming release we call AI application onboarding, where we're going to use the power of the kind of all of the connectors that we've created historically at SailPoint, apply AI to it, to look into a customer's environment, identify the apps they have that are not being properly governed, and automatically suggest connectors, and literally clicking through sort of step-by-step wizard style to implement, customize, and deploy those connectors. Really, while you sit there and work on them kind of in real time instead of the days or weeks it might have taken to build connectors previously. So just one example, we're doing things with our Access Intelligence Center to bubble more interesting data to the forefront, to allow customizable dashboards. These are all about justifying investment. This is what we hear from customers is, we're spending a lot on identity security. We want to get a quick return on it, and we want to be able to show the value that it's providing.
Perfect. How about the non-employee risk management solution? There's just so much excitement in that aspect of it as well.
This has been big, and you allude to a product that we launched just about a year ago. It's been getting really good traction because it's delivering very real value to customers right away. And so many of our customers, they might have half as many non-employees as they have employees. In certain industries, we see many more non-employees than we do employees. And that might seem like a subtle distinction, but we often find that customers have employees in a system like a Workday, for example, an Oracle HR system. But often contractors are handled differently. Sometimes they're handled differently for sort of legal and co-employment reasons. Sometimes they're handled differently because they're not centralized. They're kind of pushed out to the departmental level. The net of it is we find big Fortune 500 companies that might be managing contractors through some very ad hoc, kind of one-off workflow systems. We'll find kind of customized databases. We'll even find spreadsheets being used to manage. Yeah. And look, even in the best managed sort of homegrown system, it can be hard to tie that in to make sure, look, when that project ends, that contract ends, are we taking away the access? So what we do with non-employee risk management is provide a great way to manage the full life cycle of employees, be very flexible in delegating access so we can create assign a project to a contractor. That project and its entitlements might be managed by somebody in a different department. So really it's very decentralized administration of entitlements, but a very centralized control and life cycle management. And it seems to really hit a sweet spot for a need that customers had.
No, this is perfect, right? So now, looking much further out, what are you most excited about identity security in the future? And what should companies be thinking about, let's say, 3 years out?
Wow. Well, I'm going to answer that as something I'm excited about that we're delivering and an exciting trend I'm seeing in the industry. We've announced that we're delivering a privileged access governance solution later this year. And for us, it's neat. I feel like sometimes in the industry, you just see companies are sort of trying to roll up adjacent spaces and sort of call it a platform, kind of stick it all together. We've got a very specific vision around privileged access governance, which is this is so in our wheelhouse. For, like I said, for 18 years, we've been managing day-to-day access in the enterprise, right? So your access to your ERP systems or to file stores or whatever it may be. But in our industry, some reason we've managed all the privileged access in a separate system. And so for many administrators, they're crossing that boundary all day long. They might need some very sensitive elevated access, so they go over here, but they're going to SailPoint for the rest of their access. It makes logical sense to combine that. You want to have one place to go to request access, to govern that access, to report on that access. So we've got I think, an elegant solution coming. As you know, we'll start out with an automation solution really geared toward privileged automation. In our research with customers, we found that so many privileged tasks are very routine. And if you don't need hands-on keyboard, humans are error-prone. It could be a security risk. In our early testing with customers, there's just been a great appetite to automate more. So that'll be our first foray into it.
So the notion you have is every identity is privileged.
Yeah, every identity at some point is likely going to touch on something that's privileged. I'd say at least the vast majority of them. So I like the way you put it. Every identity is privileged. Why do we treat privilege and normal identities as separate things?
That was awesome. Thank you, Grady.
You bet.
And so SailPoint Identity Security Cloud, as Grady pointed out, has revolutionized and is still revolutionizing identity security for enterprises by addressing risk and identity risk, bolstering security measures, establishing and enforcing access policies for compliance, and streamlining operations for efficiencies, and most importantly, driving unification through our platform. So thanks everyone for tuning in. To learn more about SailPoint, our product portfolio, and to listen to more such shows, join us at sailpoint.com. Thank you.